Hello and welcome to Goddess Resurrection. My name is Britta and I am your host. And today's episode is on your relationship with yourself. The number one relationship in your life is with yourself because it's your journey, it's your incarnation. You are here for very specific reasons, right? You came here, you incarnated with intentions, with a mission, with purpose. So yes, your number one relationship is always with yourself. So today I'm going to share a very fun and easy practice for you to get more deeply connected into this concept of choosing yourself first, prioritizing yourself, self-love, self-care, right? To really go more deeply into this arena that many seem to struggle with the specifics. And we're going to make it very easy for you today. But before we dive in, hello, my gorgeous. Oh, I hope you are well. I hope you are breathing and feeling. I know everybody's been purging a lot. And before I say anything else, I just want to say I loved all of the comments. Thank you so much for leaving the comments. You don't even understand how much it means to me to actually be interacting with you, to actually hear what you're experiencing and to understand where you're at and what you're looking for in terms of support. Right? Because it's like, yes, I'm actually able to connect with you and not just speak into this void, this YouTube void. And Abby Grace asked me to share a little bit more about my journey into the feminine energy. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to sprinkle it in some more over these episodes. And I'm going to touch on it today with this practice, with this concept of self-love, prioritizing self, how I came to that. Yay! Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. And keep them coming. Let me know what you want to talk about. Let me know what you want to address. And so a bunch of you were talking about purging through the left side of your body. And so the left side of your body, of course, my right hemisphere, left side of the body, it's the feminine side, right? The feminine side of the body. And many, not all, you could be purging through the right side as well, and you could be purging just generally, but yes, a lot of women right now are purging through the left side. We're in the age of Aquarius. We're in the age of the golden age of the goddess. We are clearing the memory from all of the lifetimes of suppression and torture and being owned and right? We had no rights. We had to shush ourselves and play small and appease and please and serve. And that is all purging out, all of the memory, all of the trauma from these experiences as a woman are purging. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a blessing. It's an amazing thing. Make sure you remember that. Make sure you remind yourself of it when you're purging, when it feels uncomfortable, when there is pain, when you're wondering, wow, what's going on? What's wrong with me? I kid you not. Many years ago, when I was purging the left side, I couldn't lift my arm. I literally thought I had to go and get my arm checked because I couldn't move it. I could move it, but I couldn't lift it all the way up. And I was like, I thought I had ripped something. I thought I had pulled something. I wasn't sure. So I used these selenite hand stones. And what I would do at the time, right, because as I would check in, I would get the guidance that, yes, it's purging, just, take it easy. And so I would massage my arm, I would massage my shoulders with the stone, just really getting into it a little bit, taking Epsom salt baths, rolling it out, really give yourself that assistance. But always coming from the perspective of that, you know what is going on. Don't do it from fear. Don't get stuck in the worry, right? Very important for you to shift that, because remember, your attitude is your altitude. So for you to stay in the knowing, for you to stay in the cooperation with yourself, with your soul, that yes, I'm purging. This is a good thing. I'm releasing all of the densities that are stuck in my soul from all of the lifetimes. And this is not just for the left side, girlies. It's any purging. Whatever you're going through, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, all of the above, make sure you stay in the attitude of, this is good news. Slightly uncomfortable, yes, but this too shall pass. This will pass. And work with it. Work with your soul. Work with your body. Talk to your body, right? Really be in that relationship with yourself. And this is already where it all begins. The relationship with yourself. It is such a big, 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 big subject. Let's get into the breath. Eyes open. Let's meet in the breath. Let's connect in the breath. Nice, deep, slow, conscious in and exhales, and stay in the breath no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. Integrate the breath. We always build the breath into the doing. To stay present, to stay open, to stay connected, right? Because it is through the breath that we are in our feminine energy. It is through the breath that we are in our soul connection. It is through the breath that we stay present and clear. So stay in the breath. And from here, let's go ahead. Let's talk about this relationship with yourself. So this is something that we build upon. We're not born with this wisdom, with this knowledge, right? We come in and we have to learn this. Now, most of us were not taught this by our parents. If we were lucky, we had somebody at some point, but generally it is something that we have to come into contact with ourselves, right? We are here to learn this relationship. And this was very much a part of my journey, because my journey into the feminine energy, as it was, I'm sure, for most of you, stages, right? I've been on this journey consciously for 30 years. I've had so many ups and downs, healing my way out of my masculine energy, healing my way out of my patterning, healing my way out of my conditioning. And that is, of course, the first step into the feminine energy. When I became a mom, that was a big, big step into the feminine energy. But for me, becoming a mom was very challenging. You know, we always think that it's, oh, you must be so happy. It's probably the most amazing moment of your life, right? But for me, it was the most vulnerable, most raw moment and time of my life. And I was in a relationship with somebody who had zero understanding, zero empathy, zero connection to me, right? And so I fell into heavy postpartum depression. Heavy. I thought I was losing my mind. I was crying and laughing at the same time. It was wild. And here I had this tiny little being, and this pressure of, oh, I should be so happy and I'm supposed to be so happy, but I wasn't, because I was in fight flight. I was in complete distress. I didn't feel safe for a second. So the things that we think take us into the feminine energy are not necessarily the things that do, but on the journey into the feminine energy, every single one of us always gets what we need, right? Because we all have our own timing, remember. We all have our own path, our own learning, our own karma, our own experiences that we've come here to fulfill. So it was really more so for me when I left my then husband and became independent, raised her as a single mom. It was really through that experience that I became more connected into myself. But even that was a lot of survival, a lot of fight flight, right? Because I had to provide for myself and for her. And it was, again, very challenging, but it served me on deeper levels. It served me in the way that, because even though as we think of the feminine energy, we think, oh, you can just lean back and, you find somebody who's a provider and a protector and you can just be and don't have to do anything. No. That's great, right? Yes, that's the end goal. But in order to actually to embody that, in order to actually be able to embody this ability to stay in your feminine energy, to stay in this flow, to stay in this ability to receive, there is so much to it. And this was another part to my personal journey where I actually had to become independent. And that is very much goddess work. You've got to be independent. And then you have a partner where you let him, right? But you always already have this embodiment. You already have this accomplishment. You already have this ability to stand on your own 2 feet and to feel strong and powerful and independent. Because women that don't, say a woman gets married very young, right? For example, and falls into this marriage where from the get-go she's taken care of. And so she's now dependent. She's not there are exceptions, always exceptions to the rule, but generally, right? This young woman is now completely dependent on the provider, the protector provider. So let's say they have a couple of kids, time goes on, she grows more and more discontent because the connection is not taken care of. And again, this is also a part of it, right? She's not in herself yet. She's not yet strongly anchored and embodied in her light, in her goddess, in her true self, in her feminine energy. So not only is she dependent on the provider, protector, now also she is not aware of herself and her power, that she is the divine being, that she is the spiritual guidance for the family, for the relationship, for life. She isn't aware of all of this, and he isn't aware of it either. So you can see how these dynamics get mixed up. And so now, a couple more years down the road, something else happens and somebody cheats because there's lack of connection, of love, of wisdom, of strength, of connectivity. And then what? And then she has to learn to fight for herself, get a job, something, anything, go back to school, right? And so this is also what happened just in the last 20, 30 years. When we look back at women that were the traditional housewives, they took care of the home, of the husband, protected him and supported him. But then oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, she ended up being the one that was screwed, right? Because then he ended up with the secretary or somebody else, and screwed her out of money, screwed her out of whatever. And then she was the one with the long face, right? And she had all of her energy into him and into the family. And he goes off with somebody, somebody else. And what did she get? Right? What did she get? So again, this is just a little bit of a backdrop for, it is very important for the goddess work, for the divine feminine to understand that it's a big process. You must be independent in yourself. You must know your worth. You must know your truth. And you must know your independence. Independence is one of the foundational ways to actually embody your goddess. Goddess will not embody into a woman that is not yet in her independence. Goddess will not embody into a woman that is still dependent on a man, right? Because when we're looking at sacred union is the coming together of equals. It's the coming together of two forces, because both are healed, both are mature emotionally and healed, and seeing each other as the soul connection, as the divine orchestration that is present. And so it takes a lot of building for all of this to embody and for all of this to settle in. So yes, looking back at my journey where I had to become independent, depend on myself, strengthen in my trust, strengthen in my wisdom, strengthen in my abilities. Now I'm like, I've got myself, right? I've got myself. And this is what shows in my vibration. This is what shows in my goddess embodiment. So it's not to be underestimated. There's a big difference, huge difference between a woman getting into her feminine energy sometimes and a woman that is actually goddess embodied and goddess aligned, right? Divine feminine embodied. So it is a journey. It is a journey that takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage, a lot of faith, a lot of struggles, because it is through the struggles that we heal more deeply and we clear. And so this purging, again, look at it as a blessing, welcome it, praise it. It is you freeing yourself from all of the ways in which you've lived out of alignment. It is you freeing yourself from all of the ways in which you lived in trauma and suffering and fight flight and suppression and lack and limitation, right? There were so many lifetimes that were just that, survival of the fittest. So that's all coming out. Again, celebrate it. Celebrate it. It's a fantastic moment in time. Let's get to this practice, though. Let's get to this idea of how you can learn to build this relationship with yourself more. And it starts by understanding that it's a journey. It's not one day to the next. It is a long journey. It is a deepening journey. It is a profound journey that takes you through the healing of yourself. So healing is mandatory. You going deeper is mandatory. My relationship with myself is so strong because I've healed, because I know myself. I know myself in every way. I know myself in the darkest of lifetimes, and I know myself in the greatest of lifetimes, and I know myself in the most impoverished lifetimes. So bringing all of these parts of myself in as I heal, as I get to know another layer, another layer, another layer, another layer, another layer another level, another lifetime, another part of me, another aspect, right? It's about integrating all parts and bringing them into your light alignment. That's what ascension is and does. And so the relationship with yourself has to be first. When we're talking divine feminine, goddess embodiment, this means your relationship with yourself is solid. And because it's solid, and because you're secure with yourself, and because you know yourself, and because you love yourself, and because you're so deeply connected with yourself, this is why you are able to give yourself. This is why you're able to surrender to a partner. This is why you're able to let go and sit back and receive. Because you have yourself so firmly. Again, a woman that doesn't have herself firmly, that just gives herself, she will become dependent. The second she becomes dependent, the dynamic shifts and turns dysfunctional. It'll be toxic, hands down. Right? So I understand how important it is for you to have this powerful relationship with yourself. And let's get into it. So the relationship with yourself, think of somebody. Think of somebody that you love the most on this planet. Who is this person that you love the most on this planet? For me, it's my daughter. I would give my life if that meant I could save hers. Right? So imagine this person that you love so deeply and so fully, so completely. Now you look at this person, imagine this person. You want for this person to thrive. You want for this person to be happy. You want for this person to live fearlessly. You want for this person to feel empowered. You want for this person to know and see how amazing they are. Right? Yes, of course. So now go ahead and switch bodies. Go ahead and flip into this person that you love most on this planet. Be in their body and then have them look at you. Right? What do you see? You want that for yourself. Because what you want for another, all that love, all that devotion, all that joy, all that happiness, all that success that you wish for them, that you want for them, you cheer them on. That level you want to learn to give to yourself. And again, it's a journey. And love, self-love, and this relationship with yourself is a journey in and of itself. It is a practice in and of itself. You build, you build, you deepen, you deepen, you deepen, right? You grow stronger and stronger and stronger. So let's give a couple of examples. This person that you love the most, you prioritize them, right? Yeah. The person that we love so deeply and so fully, we prioritize them because they matter the most. Their happiness and this connection, this relationship with them is top shelf, is top priority. So let's turn that around. So then, yes, you now need to look at yourself, your relationship with yourself, that this is the relationship to prioritize. You now turning it around, looking at yourself, you are that person and you must prioritize yourself. You must focus on yourself in that way. And of course, life is busy and there are many responsibilities and many things. So we cannot constantly prioritize only that one person. That's understood. But we want to make sure that we get to have quality time. We want to make sure we get to have alone time. We want to make sure we get to have sexy time. We want to make sure we get to have fun time. We want to make sure we get to have lounging, relaxing, laying in bed all day kind of time, right? So it's not just one thing that you prioritize. No, now all of a sudden, this person that you love the most, there are so many parts to the relationship. There are so many things that you want to make time for, to spend time with them. And so this is how you need to think of yourself. Make sure you prioritize exercise time. Make sure you prioritize just hanging out time with yourself. Just chilling, play some music, just dance around the house. You know, you could be like doing things, cleaning up, doing the dishes, or not. Maybe you just want to chill on the couch. Maybe you just want to read a book. Maybe you want to do nothing and just relax. Maybe you want to go take a walk, right? So make sure you learn to prioritize you time. You time is so important for the goddess, because remember, as in the last episode, choosing yourself, right? Choosing yourself is of course the same thing. It means that you understand that when you choose yourself, when you make time for yourself, which is a priority, it has to be, you are recharging. Not only are you recharging your energy, you are aligning yourself in your light. Because when you're in your feminine energy, when you're focused onto yourself, this is when you are in your light. This is when you are embodying more light. This is when you're integrating wisdom, integrating downloads, integrating a vision for the mission, different things at different times. And this is necessary for you to hold your vibration. This is necessary for you to hold your light. Right? So when you're always busy, you're always focusing externally. First of all, you're in the masculine energy because you're looking out, you're going external, which that's the masculine. But more importantly, you are not in your fullest light presence. And so the more that you focus onto the relationship with yourself, the easier it becomes for you to hold your field, for you to hold your aura, for you to hold yourself in your most powerful frequency and to walk in it. And from here to actually interact with the world, from here to interact with life, from here to interact with work. And you still stay in your feminine energy. You still stay in your light. And this is what will happen when you focus onto yourself. The relationship with you as a priority. Good. And then what else? What else would you do? So let's say I look at my daughter and, right, she's very feminine. She's very soft. She's very sweet, right? And so sometimes I look at her and I'm like, oh, you know, she needs to have boundaries, right? And so she's, you know, I tell her, we talk about these things and, you know, she's learning to have more boundaries. She's learning to protect herself more, right? And she's very feminine. And I also, you know, we've been talking a lot about how, you know, she's learning now to speak up for herself, to speak her truth and to honor what she's feeling and to, you know, stand her ground. So she's growing into herself, right? She's growing into her divine feminine. And this is exactly what you need to do for yourself. You need to make sure you've got your boundaries in place. Because when you're in your divine feminine, your heart is open. When you're in your light, you are open, you're present, you're open. But open doesn't mean available. So just because you're open and because you're going to have people just feeling drawn to you, right? Moths to the flame, It doesn't mean they all get to just waltz in. It doesn't mean they all just get to like have a piece, right? So it's another way of you being in deep relationship with yourself, staying open, staying present, staying connected, and having your boundaries in place at the same time. Super important. Also a part of the goddess work, right? Very important. A goddess, you feel her love, you feel her presence, you feel her light, you feel her open heart, you feel her kindness, but you also know, oh, yeah, be careful, right? Because the boundaries are there. And this is because of all of the integration, right? So I have had many, 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 many dark lifetimes. I've had crazy dark lifetimes. I can't even say it. That's how bad it was. And so working through them and releasing those experiences as a choice had me, by integrating them, it's not that I integrate the darkness, I clear the darkness, obviously, right? But the knowledge of it is all a part of my arsenal. It's all a part of my wisdom. I know darkness. I see darkness. I'm not afraid of darkness. No goddess is afraid of her darkness because every divine feminine, through her healing, has integrated her darkness. She's not choosing that any longer, but she's gained the wisdom. She knows how it functions, and she knows where it is and how it is at play. And that's the wisdom, that's the power, right? To know it and to be able to outsmart it, because the light is so much wiser, right? And so much clearer once all of self has been integrated. So again, relationship with yourself, boundaries, super, super, super important. What else? What else do I have on my list? Oh yeah. Very important for your relationship with yourself is that, so here you are in your flow and you're listening to yourself and you're making time for yourself and you're paying attention to what you're needing. And so you're in a flow, right? You're in a flow. And so sometimes it's also important to remember that you also have to bring in the discipline. And it depends on where you're at on your journey. So some of us have a much harder time being in the flow because of the masculine energy and super disciplined. And some of us just love being in the flow, and we don't want to do those masculine energy things. And so again, it's a balance, right? It's a balance, understanding that, yes, you want to stay in your light, you want to stay in your feminine energy, you want to stay in your breath, and you want to stay in your flow always. But the discipline, just as the boundaries, are a necessary part to your life, to your journey, so that you're flowing, but you also know the things that you need to take care of. You also know the things that you want to get to. And it could be creative projects, but you also do want to get to them. And sometimes we also have to do things that we don't love doing. Sometimes we also have to do things that are just a part of taking care of life. Right? And so to have that understanding that, yes, you maintain your flow, and then you add in just the right amount of discipline, so you keep yourself flowing, but also moving through the tasks of the day. Yes. Yes. So you see, it is very much an awareness of yourself. And one more thing that I want to add to this. So when you love somebody so much, right, that person that you love so much, you're the biggest cheerleader, right? You want to cheer them on and you want them to achieve and be successful and live their truth and be their happiness and feel good about themselves, right? And so, yes, of course, I praise my daughter, right? I praise her and I tell her how gorgeous she is and how proud I am of her and how amazing she is. And I point out her positive attributes to her. And that is what you need to do with yourself. Absolutely. Again, my integration, I know my powers. I know my strengths. I know how amazing I am, right? And so I acknowledge this to myself. I own it. That's part of the owning of it. It doesn't have anything to do with ego. It has to do with your true self embodiment. Because when you say to yourself, oh, you're so great at computer work, right? But you're not a techie at all. So now it's ego. Now it's you just, trying to make something up, trying to, it's fishing. It's got to be authentic. And that is what embodiment is. That is what owning who you are is about. That you acknowledge yourself, you acknowledge your strengths, you acknowledge to yourself, I'm proud of you, right? You tell yourself, I love you. You're doing so well. Look at you now, right? So praise yourself. Make sure you celebrate yourself. I make a point of celebrating myself. I make a point of celebrating achievements. I make a point of having fun time out. I make a point of spoiling myself, treating myself, however it is possible, right? So make that important too. How you talk to yourself, how you think about yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you tend to yourself, how you protect yourself, how you balance yourself. It's all a part of this relationship with yourself that will deepen more and more and more as you embody, as you heal, as you strengthen, as you own and claim the vastness that you are. Remember, you are vast, 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 infinite, eternal. So just imagine the powers you hold. Imagine the magic you hold. Imagine the strengths and the resilience that you hold. Imagine what you can do. And we're just getting started. It's very exciting. So think of this and work with this and play with this, that the deeper you learn to be in relationship with yourself, the more that you love yourself, right? Play with that in terms of, okay, that person that you give unconditional love, unconditional support, unconditional acceptance to. And yes, you help them see themselves better. Yes, you help them grow more, of course. And that is what you do with yourself too. I am always growing, but I do it in the most loving way. Right? I know the areas where I'm still wanting to improve. I know the areas where I'm still wanting to strengthen. I know the areas where I'm still wanting to soften. And so being your support, being your cheerleader, being your friend, being your therapist, being your lover, being your partner, you have got to master the art of being in this deep relationship with yourself, because that's how you own who you are. That's how you embody who you are, and always coming from kindness, discipline, flow, boundaries, openness, kindness, improvement, growth mindset, right? And always remembering for you to make this time for yourself so that you stay in the fullness of your frequency. Because you, as the divine feminine, you must hold your frequency above all else. Above all else, no relationship can afford for you to stay out of your alignment for long. And this can happen sometimes, but you have to have the wherewithal. You have to have the reminder to self, I'm not feeling in my alignment. I need some time. I need to reconnect. I need to realign. I need to bring my light back in, coming back to yourself. That's the journey over and over and over and over again. So you see, it's about the feminine energy, but it's really about through the feminine energy, opening into the fullness, into the vastness that you are as a goddess. Yes, my love. So, as promised, next week, I am going to have Kimberly on, and she is going to be such, and I already spoke about her last week. She's going to be such a treat because after you know, a very challenging marriage, you know, and the dating experience, but her being in the masculine energy was just going so wrong. She was just like, she wanted to like not date at all anymore. But once she learned about being in her feminine energy, everything shifted, everything changed. She's in a very happy relationship with an amazing man, and she couldn't be happier. But you'll get to meet her next week. And this is the prime example how that shift from masculine energy into feminine energy affects every single area of your life. And because it's Valentine's Day weekend, next weekend, it's about love. That being in the feminine energy will shift your love life for the better, to extents you can't even imagine as you deepen into this relationship with yourself. God, time flies, huh? Anyways, please leave comments. Let me know what you're wanting me to talk about. And I definitely want to share more about myself. I hope this was a good start to that. And yeah, I'm so excited we're connecting. And I'm hoping that you will have a gorgeous weekend. And as always, I am sending love and light blessings to you and yours. Hugs and kisses. Ciao.